and she was having issues with her material things, and I discovered a very important reason for her issues with her material things. She was telling me people were breaking her stuff, stealing her stuff. She was breaking her stuff, misplacing it, and all kind of things. And I discovered inside of her that her soul was pretty much commanding her to stop using it to manifest and attract these material things and stop putting so much importance on these material things. It was a call to action, and it was very important. It was a very important message that a lot of people need to hear. I'm also talking to another one of my brothers that is having issues with his ego, so I'm definitely going to make this video for those two people and for everybody who's having these issues. Now, what the ego is how I define it. It's the part of you that keeps you connected to the part of you that keeps you connected to Earth. So basically, the root chakra is an anchor, and your ego would pretty much be the chain, and your soul would be, of course, the boat, and the water would be the universe. Now, the ego defined by Freud is the identity. You know, he speaks on how by the time we're two, our ego develops. You know, we understand who people are in our relation to these people. So by the time you're two, you're learning, you know, your mom, your dad, your aunts, your grandmothers. Okay, this is the pet. This is the family pet. This is your favorite things. You know, these identifications, how you relate to the world. The, why it's important to understand what it is because you need to understand how the universe and your soul is communicating to you and how that's going to manifest in your world. For example, this client called the ego the devil, which is, it can be. And my response was, it's more like a lion cub that has no idea how strong it is. The ego is the finite part of you. Notice I'm not saying your soul because it's not necessarily a part of your soul. Like this hat, like this body. It's just a tool. You need your body to empower your soul so you make sure that you don't have to come back to this earth and keep living and keep living and keep living. Now, I watch a guy named Ram Hotep. I saw this video, I forgot exactly what video it was, where he was talking about the ego and how it should be used. And he said that he fused himself, his soul, to his ego. I'm going to assume he didn't say this out of his mouth, but I'm going to assume that he did this for the purpose of not having to reinvent himself if he chose to go through the rebirthing process. Now, a lot of people speak and say they program the ego to stay here, to never die, so that when they are reborn and they turn a specific age, 13, 16, 18, their ego re-enters their body and the information that they obtained from this life is reintroduced to them and they can begin to continue their journey from previous lives. Am I saying that the ego is storing your past life? That's not what I'm saying at all. But a lot of us do connect to our past lives through the ego and how we identify these things. You know, like you can see something from the 1920s and realize that you were exactly in that time. Is that stored in the ego? Not necessarily. Now, the important thing that we need to understand about the ego is that it is not to be destroyed and it's not to be neglected. Now, in the Eastern world, you can see a clear display of making efforts to be egoless. In America, in the US, we are taught that the ego is one of the most important things, the most important thing in life. You know, we place a lot of value on our reputation. I mean, all cultures do. But in America, in the US, we're taught that the ego is the most important thing in life, in existence. Now, in the Eastern world, I'll give you an example. In Japan, Japan has, I believe, a quarter of the population of the US. but they fit their population in a space the equivalent of California. India, they have double the population of the US. They fit their whole population in the equivalent of a space the equivalent size of Texas. How do they do this? They do this their culture because their culture is based on egolessness. In Japan, earthquakes, their natural disasters are very deadly, they're very harmful. It's not because of the number or the intensity of them, it's because they fit they fit like 6 times more people into one space than we do in America. So if you take the average size apartment in America and place it in Japan, there's going to be on average 6 to 10 people in that space. When an earthquake hits or tsunami happens, probably should have said that backwards, they all have to make the efforts to protect themselves under certain spaces or try to run all of them, evacuate this little exit. How they do this, how they live in this small amount of space, how they live in this small area, is because they are programming themselves to view themselves as one person, as one energy, as one Japan. They're not so separate like we are in America. I've heard people from Poland and Russia say that they live as a culture. That's more like Mexicans have that mentality. They live as a culture. They see themselves as one person. So if you go somewhere, if you're, let's say you're Polish or Russian, you go somewhere, you say, you come back home and you're like, bro, I went over there. Those Americans are so weak. I punked them out. I was beating them up left and right. They'll kill you for that because you went over to America and you represented their culture as a whole badly. They might not go so far as to kill you, but you will not be praised for that. For example, like we have a figure like Tupac. If people more try to perceive, we'll say African American males. They try to perceive us through the symbols that we praise. Our athletes, our actors, our rappers. Of course, that's why they mistreat us. Of course, that's why they think we're dangerous and more animalistic than we are. Because of the energies that we give to these people. Now, over here, we're like, that's not us. That's one, that's one person. That's one person that died years and years ago that we like. Are we choosing to represent ourselves through Tupac? No, but Tupac is the ego of Black America. That's why a guy named Flight Boss made a video saying that Tupac was the moon of Earth. Well, that's not exactly why, honestly. But you get what I'm saying. Now, how can we use this ego? We can use this ego to power our magic. We can use it as a booster. We can use it as a tool, similar to how you use your kundalini, similar to how your cells use your sexuality to keep itself preserved. Everything that we do is in the name or by motivation of the sexuality. Everything that you do is to make sure subconsciously and on a genetic level to make sure that your cells that you reproduce, that you are open, that you are available, and that you are going to get the highest quality, or even if it's not the highest quality, some kind of quality of mate to reproduce, to make sure that you don't die. And that's essentially what the ego is doing. The ego is finite, and it does certain things to remind itself, well, to lie to itself, to make it feel like it is more important than it is, to make it feel like it is infinite, like it's never gonna die. Now, one example of this might be your soul. Your soul wants your body to go outside, to put your feet in the ground, to put your feet on the grass and for you to do breathing exercises for 1 hour. A lot of us struggle with this. Your soul wants you desperately to breathe deeper, to breathe into your root chakra, to breathe into your heart chakra, to breathe somewhere past your head. Your soul wants to go outside and do breathing exercises, but your ego will take that and tell your mind, tell your physical brain, which is your mind and your brain are two different things. Your ego will tell your brain that you want to smoke 10 cigarettes and go outside because you don't want your house to smell like smoke. And you're rationalizing it like that. Your brain is making these calculations. Your brain is misinterpreting your soul saying, look, we need to go outside and connect with each other. You need to connect your soul to your body so that we can get empowered, so we can help these people, and so we can make this world a better place. So we can think more clearly, so we can speak more clearly, so we can aid those who don't understand, so people can see us and think we look stupid doing these breathing exercises and go home and Google what we are doing. Then they see that we are doing breathing exercises and they want to try it too and pass it along and blah blah blah. Excuse me. But your ego is telling your brain you're stressed, you're bored. This is how you cure this. Take the cigarette, go outside, smoke the cigarette, and feel different. So somebody calls you and they say, bro, you're always on Facebook. Do you even go outside? Now your mind, now your soul is saying, yes, I do go outside. Your ego's not going to say, I only go outside to smoke cigarettes. I really only go outside so I can go to my car to go get more alcohol or weed. Your ego is not going to allow you to say that, but your brain knows that's true. Your soul knows that's true. And what does your soul do? It gets weaker. And if you have a strong soul, it might even try to destroy your stuff to get your attention. But how do we use this ego? What are some of the steps that we can take? Well, if you're an Aries, if you're a fire sign, I would say it wouldn't be in your best interest to take this first step because I tried it and honestly, it made it worse. It made my ego issues a lot worse. But you can, if you're not arrogant, if you're not a narcissist, and if you're not a fire sign, you can write a contract. You can say, look, ego, I'm going to tell you exactly how to identify your ego right after this. I'm going to give you a meditation. You could say, look, ego, you do some pretty messed up stuff and you're messing up some stuff in my life. So I'm going to make you a deal. If you do things, if you give me the power, if you motivate me, if you give me that booster to help these people, I will feed you. Now, Aaron Doty, a guy that I watch on YouTube, he calls this oneness intention. It's pretty much telling your ego, I want to help people. You don't care about anybody. You only care about feeling good and feeling like you're a god, which I wouldn't say you're not. But at this point, it's not helping either of us. I'm not going to die. You're going to die. So if you want me to get this Ferrari, if you want me to buy this big house, if you want me to have all these cool friends, I want you to do this, whatever this is, to help a lot of people. If you help me help 1,000 people and affect their lives and help tens of thousands of people, but really change 1,000 people's lives, we will have the money to get the Ferrari, the big house, and the nice clothes. We'll have that. But the only way to do this is for you to help me help a lot of people. You have to open this for me. You have to help me do this. Because if not, you're gonna just keep having this battle with my brain and my body, and you're gonna die, and nobody's gonna praise you. You're just gonna be a nothing. You're gonna be nothing. Okay? You can write a contract like that first. Now, secondly, what you can do is don't tell it anything. Don't identify it. I mean, you have to identify it, but don't make efforts to let it know that you are trying to reprogram it and deprogram it and direct it. Why? Because it will fight you. It will be quiet. It will make it seem like you won this battle, and then out of nowhere, it'll try to kill you. And I'm serious about that. That actually, like, not death, but it tried to hurt me because of what I was doing, because I miscommunicated, because I wasn't playing this game right. How you deprogram it, reprogram it, and direct it is the number one. Work on your focus. Meditate. Work on your focus. I want you to go in your room, turn off all electronics, and you might not be able to draw a little dot, but focus on a crack in your wall. Focus on, you could, and do this with all of your senses eventually. Light an incense, close your eyes, and only focus on number one, breathing. The first thing that popped in my head was an episode of SpongeBob when Mr. Krabs was trying to make SpongeBob the perfect waiter, and I just want you to remember fine dining and breathing, and he forgot his name. Exactly, exactly. That is a great display of what the ego is. I think it was Squidward. I think it was Squidward. Whoever it is, they told SpongeBob to only remember fine dining and breathing. And when the guy asked him what his name was, he didn't know his name because he literally was void of everything but fine dining and breathing. So that's what you need to do. Light that incense and only focus on the smell of the incense and breathing. And don't entertain any thoughts, because thoughts will come to you, and you have messages that are going to come out of your brain, because the mind goes into a panic when you're not giving it information and when you're not thinking, because we are addicted to thinking. We're programmed to constantly think, but you don't have to do that. You don't have to. So any thoughts that come into your mind, don't entertain them, acknowledge them, and then send them away. And tell yourself, and just take in, just sense that incense. You can do this with taste, smell, all the senses, right? And then eventually you can start doing this without lighting any incense, just focusing on what you think the smell of lemons is. You can visualize when you start opening up your head chakras. You can start visualizing symbols and focusing on these symbols and voiding on these symbols. Okay, that's how you empower your focus. And then next, of course, just straight up raising your vibration. Raising your vibration, empowering your soul, doing these power meditations, empowering your soul so much that you can use your soul power to shield the world from your ego. You can shield your ego, surround it. You can go to I forgot her name, Asherah, star goddess, when she talks about ether. It's pretty much she talks about, what is it called, dark matter, ether, blackness, darkness. It's pretty much like doing that when she talked about healing, how she heals the dark matter around the wound and around the cell instead of the actual cell, because the dark matter will always be there, but this healing the cell is ineffective because the cell is going to die and there's going to be new sick cells or wounded cells in place of it. So you place a shield or a border around your ego and then program the energy around it. Program the energy around it to reprogram, deprogram, and direct your ego towards your goals, towards your magic. You can use this like you use your kundalini, like you use your sexuality, like you use your magic tools, like you use your body, like you use your family. You use your family to motivate you at work when you're tired, when you're not really trying to finish the rest of this day, when you're sick. You use your family like that. Use your ego like that. Use your sexuality like that. Use your kundalini in your body like that, right? Use these material things like that. And then I'm looking at my notes, of course. That's it. Those two other things, the two other things I wanted to mention is you studying the middle path. That'll put a tame on your ego. That's one thing that you can do. And how I explain the middle path is If somebody walks up to you and says, "Do you like these Louis Vuitton shoes?" The first thing that you think is, yeah, those are fucking, first of all, they're Louis Vuitton shoes, but they are nice. You choosing the middle path would be saying, not that they're good shoes, they're not ugly, they're just shoes. The situation, somebody comes up to you and they're like, bro, I did this. Do you think that's petty? A part of you wants to say, bro, that was hella petty. Why would you do that? Another part of you wants to say, that wasn't really petty. I'll be on the same stuff. But the middle path, would you, the middle path would be you saying, it's a situation. There's nothing, it's just a situation. It's neither petty nor not petty. So, yeah, I skipped one part. I wanted to say it, but it's really not that important. The middle path and Taoism, definitely studying Taoism. Taoism is pretty much you returning to nature. You, the Taoists believe that you should only act in a way that nature does because nature is perfect and it's the closest thing that we can get to spirituality. Nature is the embodiment of God, is the physical manifestation of the universe. Trees, rocks, grass, water, the four elements are the physical embodiment of the universe or of God if you believe in God, like the planets, you know. One thing one thing that a lot of people say, cuz I wrote a paper on nature and what the different religions believe about nature. Now, if you're a Muslim, then you know what I'm about to say. But the Quran says that pretty much nature has an ego too. Nature is the embodiment of God in the way that the Quran says that plants and animals plants and animals are in a constant state of meditation. They are constantly praising Allah, which makes them the best example of of a Muslim. Which means to me that plants and animals are they have egos. So if you believe that, it's going to be pretty hard for you to study Taoism and possibly even the middle path. But I'm not a Muslim, so I don't believe in that. But how you get in touch with your ego, how you speak to it. Number one, I'm gonna give you two ways. I'm gonna give you one meditation. I'm gonna give you one technique. The first technique would be, of course, the ego is stored in the the ego is stored in the solar plexus. Excuse me. Solar plexus rules what? Social identity, pride. The Christians say, the seven deadly sins, all sin starts with pride. So, what would you do? You go to your head, you go to your sixth chakra. Go to your sixth chakra and your third eye. Learn to sense that energy. Learn to sense energy. Learn sensing energy and energy manipulation. Like I tell you guys, learning to sense energy will give you the advantage in identifying what your ego is, the voice of it, where it is, how it is. And of course, another thing that you can do, go to your natal chart. Go to your natal chart. Then your ego's in your sun sign. I don't care if you think that if you identify more with Capricorns like myself, I'm an Aries sun, Capricorn ascendant, Libra moon. My ego was 110% pure Martian. My ego is of Mars, definitely. I might be calm, grounded, chill, all of those things. But my ego is definitely a Martian and it creeps out. It creeps out of Aries. So learning to sense energy will give you the advantage. You can sense your ego. You can start asking yourself questions. Was that me? Or was that my ego? Was that my soul? Or my body? Or my ego? Was that my higher self? Or my soul? Was that an act of egotism? Was that an act of materialism? Or was that a spiritual act? What would somebody spiritual do? What would my soul do in this situation? Would my soul go smoke another Newport? Or will my soul go outside and just take a break from the inside environment and put my feet in the grass, put my body's feet in the grass, and do a breathing exercise for like 10 minutes? Okay, when you can sense energy, then if you can sense energies consciously, if you can put out an echolocation to find your remote from your brain, then the meditation that I'm going to give you is going to be much more easy. So first what you do is, I find that a lot of people like to do this in a pool or in water, in the bath, in the shower. So what you do is meditate, do a breathing exercise, and clear your mind, void, right? Then you go in that water and turn the lights off. Go in the bathroom, turn the lights off. If you want to take a shower and do this, if you want to sit in the bath, you can do this. If it's available for you to go to a beach and do this at night, I definitely advise it. And what you do is you sit in that water and you try to sense the water. Sense the water. Feel the difference between your body, your body's energy, your bioelectricity, that water, the air. Then move your attention to your breath. Try to feel the air coming from your nostrils, the air coming out of your mouth. Eventually, I want you to start blowing a little bit harder. Now, sense how far your breath goes before it disperses. Sense how far, and you could usually, I can sense it probably as far as, I don't want to say a whole, maybe a whole foot, maybe like 9 inches from my face. You can feel the breath, and then it moves into the rest of the room. And then from there, I want you to go inside your body. I want you to feel the difference between your heart and the rest of your body. I want you to feel the difference between your stomach and the rest of your body, your blood, your bones. And then identify your soul, your aura, your 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 brain, the electricity coming off your brain, your chakras. And then I want you to start thinking about how you feel. Then I want you to ask your ego one question. Then I want you to ask it more questions. Then I want you to ask your subconscious mind questions. Then I want you to identify these thoughts. Now I know the doctors say that, it's important and healthy for you to speak out loud, but when you start getting answers from somebody you didn't ask, which is yourself, that's unhealthy and you're called a schizophrenic. But in this case, I mean, I'm not a doctor, so I can't tell you to ignore those directions and that information, but you're supposed to hear your ego loud and clear. You're supposed to hear your subconscious mind loud and clear. Your soul is supposed to react. Your heart is supposed to react. Your heart can be speaking to you if you're in tune with your heart and your emotions and your connection between your body and the rest of the universe. This meditation will allow you to identify what this ego sounds like, what it feels like, what its motivations are, what it's really here for, what it really wants. And all egos, I mean, they're pretty much the same, besides how you're supposed to go about controlling them, how you're supposed to go about directing them, and what you need to be doing to raise the vibration of them. But of course, raising the vibration of them would be using the oneness technique, fusing it with yourself, and then just raising the vibration of everything that's in your castle, and working with it to make sure that it doesn't harm anybody, and making sure that it won't harm you any further and confuse you on what's supposed to be done with your mind, body, brain, and soul, and to the rest of society. Because pretty much that's all that can be done. It's either gonna help you or it's gonna hurt you, and the ego is, of course, it's a selfish thing, so it doesn't really. It just wants to make sure that it's gonna feel good and be known until it dies. That's pretty much it. So I hope you guys were well informed and took this information in, internalized it, got it, rocked with it, and all those things. I hope I was a blessing to you because you were definitely a blessing to me. It's Aaron Moses. Life is in the breath. Breathe it in. Peace.